My wife is 32 and I'm 34, and we've been married for about 6 years now. I work full-time, and ever since we tied the knot, she's chosen to be a stay-at-home wife. Last Tuesday, I woke up to find her gone. No note, no text, not even a sticky note on the fridge. Her car wasn't in the driveway, and when I looked around, I realized she had taken a suitcase with some clothes too. At first, I figured she might have just driven off to her mom's for a quick visit and would check in later. But as the day dragged on with no call or message, I went from curious to downright worried. By Wednesday, I was really losing it. I started calling everyone I could think of: her mom, her sister, her closest friends, even some people from her old job. Nobody had seen her. Nobody had heard from her. By Thursday, I was full on panicking, calling hospitals and asking if anyone matching her description had been admitted. On Friday morning, with nothing else left to do, I filed a missing person report. The police didn't exactly spring into action. Their response was basically, she packed her things and left willingly, so she probably just wanted space. They told me that as long as there weren't obvious signs of foul play, an adult has the right to vanish if they want to. I kept trying to explain that this wasn't her. This was completely out of character, and I knew something was wrong. By Saturday afternoon, I was so desperate I started driving around random neighborhoods, scanning for her car. That's when I finally spotted it, sitting right there in the driveway of her friend Claudia's house. I knocked, and Claudia answered the door, looking like she wanted to be anywhere but there. When I asked if my wife was inside, she hesitated for a second, and then my wife stepped out from behind her. Relief just washed over me. I was so close to breaking down right there on the porch. I asked her what was going on, why she hadn't called, if she was even okay. Instead of being relieved or apologetic, she looked irritated. That threw me off completely, because I was the one who had been losing my mind thinking she was dead or kidnapped for 4 straight days. She told me we needed to talk, came back home with me, and that's when she explained it had all been deliberate. Her reasoning? She wanted me to experience life without her so I would appreciate everything she does around the house. I just sat there floored. I asked her why she couldn't just talk to me about feeling unappreciated instead of putting me through hell. She told me she tried to talk before but felt I never really listened. She said this was the only way to make me understand how much she contributes and how little I supposedly notice. The crazy part is, I do appreciate her. Yes, she handles most of the day-to-day cleaning, shopping, and cooking, but I work 50+ hours a week to pay for our life. That was always the deal, and I thought we both agreed on it. When I get home, I don't just crash on the couch, I'll do the dishes or throw in laundry if she asks. I've never once complained about her not having a job or tried to make her feel guilty for being at home. I really am trying to see her side here, but faking her own disappearance for 4 days just to prove a point about chores feels absolutely extreme. Filing that missing person report was humiliating. Now I've got to call the police and explain that she's fine. I missed 3 full days of work and barely slept at all during the week. She told me if I put the same energy into housework that I put into panicking about her, we wouldn't be having this issue. But honestly, I have no idea what else she wants from me. I'm not messy. I clean up after myself, I mow the lawn, I shovel snow, I fix things when they break. Am I blind to something here? I love my wife, but it's hard to get past the fact that she let me believe something awful happened to her just to make a point about chores. That's the part one can't get past. If she had simply sat me down and said, I need you to pitch in more around the house, I would have listened. We could have worked out a new system, made a plan, something. The more I think about it, the more I'm starting to believe this whole thing wasn't even about chores at all. Maybe that was just the cover story. Update: first off, thank you to everyone who commented. I honestly didn't expect this to blow up the way it did, but reading your responses has really opened my eyes. You all helped me see that this situation was a lot heavier than I initially realized. After that first post, I decided I needed to have an actual heart-to-heart with my wife. I gave us both a few days to cool off, then sat her down and told her exactly how her disappearing act had affected me. To my surprise, she was more open than I expected. She actually apologized and admitted she hadn't considered things from my point of view. That's when I asked her point blank if her friends had been the ones pushing this idea. At first she dodged the question, but eventually she admitted the truth. It had been Claudia's brainchild, backed up by Janice and Rumi. They pitched it as a power move that would supposedly wake me up to how much I rely on her. According to her, they'd been building up to this for months. They'd convinced her that I was exploiting her, treating her like some unpaid maid and cook. They told her that being a stay-at-home wife was outdated 1950s nonsense and even planted the idea that I was probably cheating on her while she wasted her life doing my laundry. That cheating accusation knocked the wind out of me because it's completely untrue. I asked if she actually believed that garbage, and she said no, but her friends had planted enough seeds of doubt that she started questioning it. They told her that all men cheat, especially on wives who aren't independent. It turns out they'd been plotting this for weeks. Claudia offered up her house as a hideout. Janice helped her pack in a way that would make it look like she'd left on her own. Rumi coached her on turning off her phone so I wouldn't be able to track her location. They even had a group chat where they coordinated the whole thing in timelines, strategies, and even predictions about how I'd react. The part that really tore me up was when my wife admitted they were all excited to watch how I'd respond. Like this was some twisted form of entertainment for them. If I shrugged it off, that would prove I didn't care. If I panicked, that would prove I couldn't function without her. Either way, they'd get evidence against me. I asked her straight up how it felt realizing she'd been used as a pawn in their little game, and that seemed to land. She got quiet and said she hadn't thought of it that way, that they'd made it sound like they were just looking out for her. But here's where things went downhill again. When I asked if she planned to cut ties with them, she hesitated. She said they were her friends and she couldn't just walk away from those relationships. She told me she'd already spoken to them about how the whole thing went too far, but she wasn't willing to stop being friends with them. I told her that was a major problem for me. These women had convinced her to put me through 4 days of psychological hell as some kind of test. They're clearly toxic and seem to want our marriage to collapse. If she's not willing to step back from people who actively sabotage our relationship, then we've got a much bigger issue. She got defensive, accusing me of trying to control who she's allowed to be friends with. She said that just because they gave bad advice this time didn't mean they were bad people. According to her, they were only trying to protect her because they'd all been through divorces and didn't want her stuck in a bad situation. I pointed out that maybe 3 divorced women weren't exactly the best people to get marriage advice from, and that's when she really lost it. She said I was being judgmental and that their failed relationships didn't make their perspectives worthless. We went in circles for hours. She kept insisting she could stay friends with them while ignoring their bad advice, but I just don't see how that's possible. These women clearly dislike me and want her to leave me. They're not going to suddenly stop trying to poison her against me just because this plan backfired. The final straw was when she told me I was overreacting and needed to just get over it because she was back home safe and had apologized. She told me that if I held a grudge, it would only prove her friends right, that I was controlling and unreasonable. That's when it really sank in that she still doesn't fully grasp what she did or why it was so wrong. She's sorry I was hurt, but she's not actually sorry for what she did. In her mind, the issue isn't her actions, it's my reaction. So I packed a bag and went to stay with my brother. I told her I needed space and that until she was willing to cut ties with the people who talked her into tormenting me, I couldn't trust her judgment. She cried and begged me not to leave, but I walked out anyway. It's been 3 days now, and she hasn't stopped texting. 1 minute it's an apology, the next it's accusations that I'm throwing away our marriage over one mistake. She keeps saying her friends told her this just proves they were right about me not really loving her. Meanwhile, my brother and his wife have been incredible, offering me a place to stay as long as I need, and giving me advice without judgment. My sister-in-law especially hit me with something that stuck. She said if her friends ever convinced her to pull something like this on my brother, she'd cut them off immediately, because true friends don't encourage you to hurt the person you love. That perspective has been rattling around in my head non-stop. I honestly don't know what the future holds. I love my wife deeply, but love doesn't feel like it's enough if she's willing to let other people manipulate her into destroying our trust. I never imagined I'd be sitting here seriously thinking about divorce, but here we are. Update 2, just when I thought things couldn't possibly get worse, they did. Yesterday, my sister-in-law came to me with something she found online. She was hesitant, but told me I needed to see it. After hearing about my wife's friends, she'd done a little digging on social media to get a sense of who they really were. That's when she stumbled across Claudia's TikTok account. 5 days ago, right after I'd gone to stay with my brother, a video popped up online. My sister-in-law found it first. It was filmed right in what looked like our living room, showing me completely breaking down on Friday morning before I filed the missing person report. In the video, I was on the phone with the police, crying, describing my wife, practically begging them to help me find her. They'd caught me at my absolute lowest. By the time my sister-in-law showed me, the video had already racked up over 40,000 views and hundreds of comments, most of them mocking me. People were calling me pathetic, saying I deserved it, joking that I was probably useless without someone to cook and clean for me. Some of the comments were even more disturbing, women saying they wanted to try this experiment on their own husbands, asking for tips on how to pull it off. And it didn't stop there. Claudia had posted a second video with different camera angles of the same meltdown, plus clips of me frantically searching the house and calling hospitals. They had turned my genuine fear and heartbreak into entertainment for strangers on the internet. When my sister-in-law showed me, my hands were literally shaking. The invasion of privacy was bad enough, but realizing that while I was losing my mind thinking my wife was missing, her friends were gleefully filming me, it's hard to even put into words. My sister-in-law helped me take screenshots of everything before we reported the videos. We also realized the cameras were probably still inside the house, tiny wireless ones hidden in picture frames and decorative items. Who knows how long they'd been recording me? I drove straight back to the house to confront my wife. When I showed her the screenshots and pointed out the hidden cameras, she went pale. She kept repeating, I didn't know, over and over. She claimed she had no idea they were filming me and certainly didn't know they'd posted it online. I wanted so badly to believe her, but those cameras had clearly been there for weeks. There's no way she never noticed. When I pressed, she admitted she knew about some cameras but thought they were for security. She said Claudia told her they were worried I might become violent once I found out about the plan. That made my blood boil. Not only had they filmed my breakdown, they'd also painted me as some potential threat to justify spying on me. They had covered every angle, recording my reaction no matter what I did so they'd have evidence. When my wife saw the full scope of what her friends had done, she broke down completely. She said she felt sick and betrayed. She called Claudia on the spot and started yelling at her about the videos. From what I could hear, Claudia was laughing, telling her to lighten up because it was just for fun. That's when my wife finally snapped. She told Claudia she was a sick, twisted person and that she never wanted to see her again. She hung up, blocked all 3 women on everything right then and there. But the damage was already done. Those videos were out in the wild, being shared and commented on by thousands of strangers. Even after they were taken down from the original accounts, people had already downloaded and reposted them. My humiliation was permanent. We sat up for hours talking that night. My wife looked horrified by what she'd been a part of even if she didn't fully understand it at the time. She kept apologizing, saying she felt manipulated and used. She told me she now realized her friends hadn't been trying to help, they'd been using our marriage as content for their social media drama. She begged me to come home and try to work things out. She promised she was done with those toxic people and wanted to rebuild our trust. She even offered to go to marriage counseling, individual therapy, whatever it would take. I told her I needed time to process all of it. The camera footage meant they'd been invading our privacy for weeks, maybe months. Since then, she's moved out and is staying at her mom's place for emotional support, giving me space to think. Her mom even called me yesterday to apologize on her daughter's behalf and said she was appalled when she found out. Apparently my wife's been crying nonstop and seems to genuinely understand how badly she messed up. Part of me wants to believe this wake-up call might actually change things. She did cut off the toxic friends once she saw how far they'd gone. She does seem genuinely remorseful now that she's grasped the full scope of their manipulation. But another part of me can't get past what happened. Those videos will probably haunt me forever. My worst moment has been turned into entertainment for strangers who think my pain is a joke. And it happened because my wife trusted people who hated me more than she trusted me. I love her, but I don't know if love is enough to move past this level of betrayal. Even if she was manipulated, she still played a part. She still let them put cameras in our home. She still disappeared for 4 days while they filmed me falling apart. My brother says I should run and never look back. My sister-in-law says people can change if they truly want to. I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. People in the comments were saying they'd been building a case against me for weeks or even months, probably planning to use the footage either in divorce proceedings or to churn out more viral content. And honestly, they're right. My wife had to have known. You don't accidentally participate in this level of violation. Final update. This will be my last update. I've decided to file for divorce. After my last post, I gave my wife one final chance to come completely clean. I told her I needed the full truth, no more half-truths, no more I didn't know excuses. If there was any hope left, I had to know exactly what she'd done and when. She agreed to tell me everything, and what she confessed made my decision simple. The cameras weren't installed 6 weeks before she disappeared, they'd been there for 4 months. She had helped Claudia and the others plan exactly where to put them. My wife admitted she knew about all of it. She said she went along because her friends convinced her I was probably hiding things from her, so this was just leveling the playing field. When I asked why she was telling me this now, she said she hoped total honesty would show she was serious about changing. But this wasn't a slip-up or even a toxic friendship gone too far. This was a months-long conspiracy to psychologically torture me and sabotage our marriage, with my wife as an active, willing participant. The woman I thought I married would never have done this. But maybe the woman I thought I married never really existed. I met with a divorce attorney yesterday. Given the evidence, he's confident we can resolve everything quickly and on favorable terms. In our state, what she's done qualifies as marital misconduct, which affects property division and spousal support. We're also moving forward with criminal charges against Claudia and the others. The DA is interested because of the social media angle and the possibility this could inspire copycat behavior. My wife won't be charged because she's cooperating fully with the investigation. I've moved out of the house permanently. We didn't have a prenup, so it'll be a straight 50-50 split. I also can't stand living in a place where I was secretly recorded for months. My brother's helping me find an apartment, and my job's been incredibly understanding through all this. My wife is devastated, but I'm done feeling sorry for her. She made these choices every single day for 4 months. People ask me if I think she can change or if I'm walking away too quickly. Here's what I know: someone who can spend months planning to psychologically destroy their spouse is not someone I want to be married to. Even if she could change, I'd never trust her again. How do you rebuild from something like this? I'm focusing on moving forward now. The legal stuff will play out. And to everyone who supported me along the way, thank you. Your comments helped me see the situation clearly when I was too close to recognize how bad it truly was.